Okay, let's start. So, in this chapter, we turn to psychosocial aspect of the quest for identity, and also we discuss how adolescents come to terms with their sexuality, and we consider how teenagers' burgeoning individuality expresses itself in relationship with parents, siblings, peers, and friends. And also we will examine the sources of antisocial behavior and ways of reducing the risk of to adolescents to make it a time positive growth and expanding possibilities. Good day everyone. We are now in the chapter 12 and we will discuss about the psychosocial development in adolescence. So, next bullet please. So for our topic outline, first we have the search for identity, and the second we have the sexuality, and the third one is we have the relationship with family, peers, and adult society, and the last one is for the antisocial behavior and juvenile delinquency. Our learning objectives for today. First, we will discuss identity formation in adolescence, and also we will describe the adolescent sexuality, and the third one, we will characterize the changes in adolescents' relationship with family and peers, and also, and the last one is we will describe the adjustment problems of adolescents and strategies for intervention and risk reduction.
So, a pleasant election day to everyone. So, for the first topic, we have the search for identity. So, we have here a quote and it says, "It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are." So, for me, this quote means that, of course, this is for us to truly know what we are. We need to find the courage to face ourselves and to be honest about who we really are and to embrace our true feelings, thoughts, and desires. So, for the first topic, we got the search for. Yes. So, in Erickson's perspective, it highlights the importance of the search for identity. So, a teenager's effort to make sense of the self is part of a healthy and a vital process. It involves developing a clear understanding of one's, including goals, values, and beliefs. So, this exploration for identity builds upon earlier stages of development and helps individuals prepare for the challenges they will encounter in adults. So, identity, which Erickson defined as coherent conception of self, is made up of goals and our values. So next slide please. So identity versus identity confusion. So Erickson's fifth stage of psychosocial development. So during this stage, we tend to explore different roles, values, and beliefs from various interests, relationships, and lifestyle for us to form a coherent sense of our identity. This is for us to seek an understanding of who we really truly are and what one of us stand for. It is a period of self-discovery and self-reflection. However, some individuals may struggle with identity confusion, may feel uncertainty, conflicted, and lost in their search for identity. So, difficulty in making decisions, experience self doubt, and pressured by social expectation, this hinder the person's growth. So, so here we can see a picture, and so the major question in this stage is, who am I? So, do we really know who we are yet? So that is a question for us to answer. So once we overcome identity versus identity confusion, we reach fidelity. So by successfully navigating this stage and achieving fidelity, individuals develop a strong and stable sense of their identity, which serve as a foundation for their future and development to contribute to their overall well-being. So next slide, please. So here we have identity status, crisis, and commitment. So according to James E. Marshall, 1966-1980, distinguished four types of identity status. We have the identity achievement, Second, foreclosure. Third, moratorium, and identity confusion. So these four categories differ according to the presence or absence of crisis and commitment. So the two elements Erickson saw as crucial forming identity. So we have here crisis. So in Marshall's term for period of conscious decision making related to identity formation. So crisis is a time of upheaval where old values or choices are being re-examined and new alternatives are explored. So next is commitment. So this is Marshall's term for personal investment in an occupation or system of beliefs. So commitment is the degree to which a person feels confident in their choice and how strongly they feel about a facet of their identity. So four types of identity status. First, we got the identity achievement or crisis leading to commitment. So identity status described by Marcia that is characterized by commitment to choices made following a crisis, a period spent in exploring alternatives. So, for example, we have a person here. So let's name her Luning Ning. So Luning Ning is a high school student, but her parents want her to pursue medicine because they believe that Luning Ning will be successful and easily reach stability. But Luning Ning has a passion for art, so she feels conflicted. So what she wanted to follow her parents' wish but can't deny her passion for art. But then she chooses to explore her artistic interests. During this time, she feared disappointing her parents and questioned societal expectation, of course, her future. But still, she chooses her passion, which is art, and she started to develop her skills and attended workshops and embraced her identity. So she told this to her parents, and her parents, of course, accepted what Runingning really wants. So the identity achieved is when crisis and commitment are high. So this means that even when there is crisis, she still chooses what is good for her. So the person has completed a period of exploring various choices and has decided that they feel is the best for them as an individual. Next slide, please. So the second among the four types is foreclosure or commitment without crisis. So this is an identity status described by Marcia in which a person who has not spent time considering alternatives that is has not been in crisis is committed to other people's plan for her life. So for example here is we have Jonathan. So Jonathan, since he was a kid, his parents tells him that he should be a doctor. So his parents expect Jonathan to follow their footsteps. So as Jonathan grows up, he internalizes his parents' expectations and assumes that becoming a doctor is his predetermined path. He never questions this assumption or explores other career options. So it is a time for Jonathan to choose a college major, he easily and immediately choose pre-med without considering any other alternative. So Jonathan's commitment to becoming a doctor is an example of foreclosure. He has made a commitment without going through crisis or exploring other possibilities. So when commitment is high and crisis is low, the person has made a choice or had it made for them and has considered alternatives is called foreclosure. So the third one is moratorium or crisis with no commitment. So this identity status described by Marcia in which a person is currently considering alternatives in crisis and seems headed for commitment. So here we have a person example, which is named Jefferson. So Jefferson is a college student who has always been interested in music and has played different instruments since he was a child. So he has a natural talent for music and has often dreamed of pursuing a career as a professional musician. But As Jefferson enters college, he faces a crisis in his identity development. He begins to question whether music is the right path for him, so he wonders if he should really pursue a more practical and stable career that aligns with societal expectations. So Jefferson decides to explore different academic disciplines and career options. He takes different courses and participated in different orgs. But despite the ongoing crisis, Jefferson does not rush into making a commitment. He understands that the exploration process is crucial for his personal growth and decision making. So Jefferson realizes that he needs more time to gather information, reflect on his experiences, and weigh his options before making a final commitment. So Jefferson is an example that represents a moratorium where he experiences a crisis and actively explores different possibilities without making a firm commitment yet. He embraces the period of uncertainty and uses it as an opportunity for self discovery and informed decision making. So, here in moratorium, crisis is high and commitment is low. So, for the fourth status, we got identity diffusion or no commitment, no crisis. Here we have identity status described by Marcia that is characterized by absence of commitment and lack of serious consideration of alternatives. So here we have an example is a person named Bingo. So Bingo is a high school student who has never given much thought to his future or personal identity. So he tends to go along with the flow and doesn't feel a strong sense of direction or purpose. So Bingo may join a sports team one semester, then he would join another one and a different hobby without fully committing to any of them. So when it comes to making important life decisions such as choosing a college major or career path, Bingo feels overwhelmed and indecisive. He lacks a clear sense of self and has not engaged in any deep exploration or reflection on his values, passions, or long-term goals. So without a crisis or a strong drive to explore his identity, Bingo remains in a state of diffusion. He has not actively questioned or explored alternative options, nor has he made any firm commitments to shape his identity. It is It is important to note that identity diffusion is a common experience during adolescence, as individuals are still in the process of discovering and forming their sense of self. However, it becomes important for individuals like Bingo to engage in self reflection, exploration, and decision making in order to move forward or towards a more developed and coherent sense of identity. So, diffusion occurs when there is neither an identity crisis nor commitment. So next slide, please. So here we can see the slide. So we here have the sample question and typical answer for the four statuses. So here is a question about occupational commitment. So how willing do you think you'd be to give up going into if something better came along? So here in identity achievement, the person answered, well, I might, but I doubt it. I can see what something better would be for me. So the person is weighing more better option that is good for his or her development. So in foreclosure, the person answered not very willing. It's what I've always wanted to do. The folks are happy with it, and so am I. So here, he really doesn't. The person just go with whatever he was told. So in next is moratorium. The person answered, I guess if I knew for sure, I could answer that. But better, it would have to be something in that general area or something related. So here in moratorium, so there is crisis with no commitment yet. So the person is unsure whether he will make it that a decision. So next is we have the identity diffusion. So the person answered, "Oh sure, if something better came along, I'd change just like that." So the person just go with the flow and just go deep within it. So next slide, please. So here we have gender differences in identity formation. So gender differences in identity formation. So our gender identity refers to the deep and intimate feeling a person has of themselves. So some earlier research supports Erickson's view that for women, identity and intimacy develop together. However, some data suggests gender differences may be less important than they were, and individual differences may play more a role of now. So children begin to understand and express their gender identity early in life. So they may express their gender through their choices in clothing, social relationships with peers, choice of toys, or preferred nicknames. So there are gender differences in the identity status. First, we got the close, strong identity, which is more typical for men, and the open, strong identity, which is more common for women. So in general, the degree of openness to changes is higher among women than in men. So men have a higher degree of stability of identity. Next slide, please. So here next we have ethnic factors in identity formation. So for a European American young person growing up in a predominantly white culture, the process of ethnic identity formation is not particularly troublesome. However, for many young people in minority groups, race or ethnicity is central to identity formation. So here, following Marshall's model, some research has identified four ethnic identity status. So, but first, ethnic identity develops in adolescence. It is passed from one generation to next through customs, traditions, language, religious practices, and cultural values. So, our ethnic and racial identities are also influenced by the popular media, literature, and cultural events. But going on to the four ethnic identity statuses, first we have the status, which is diffuse. So diffuse is a status that characterizes those who have neither explored the options nor made a commitment to an identity. So next we have foreclosed. So in foreclosed, it happens when someone accepts without question the values, skills, goals, and overall worth someone else has assigned to them. Next is the moratorium. So in moratorium, it is one step in the process of finding a sense of self. It is a period of active searching for one's occupational, religious, ethnic, or other form of identity to determine who they really are. So next is achieve. So achieved simply refers to having found one's true sense of self. It is a key element of personality development and the process that begins in childhood. So notably in the tween or teen years and ends in adulthood. Next slide, please. So here we have table number two, representative quotations from each stages of ethnic identity development. So here in diffusion, well, yeah, my parents are both Latinos, so I guess I probably am too. So this is a status that characterizes those who have neither explored the options nor made a commitment to an identity. So it's like they just accepted what is assigned to them. So here in foreclosure, it says, I am really happy that I am Chinese. My parents have always made me go to Chinese classes and participate in Chinese cultural events. So that's just how I've always been. So here it happens that someone just accepts without questioning the values and skills or goals or the overall worth of someone has assigned to them. So next we have the moratorium. It says here, I've heard people say that racism doesn't exist, but I disagree. I've had some experiences that have really made me stop and think. I haven't figured it out yet, but I know that being black is different than being white. So it's a one-step process of finding a sense of self. So it is a period of active searching for one's occupational, religious, and determine who they really are. So for the last, we have the achieve. So it says here that my parents are first generation immigrants and I was born here. When I think about myself, I think I am a mix of their culture and of American culture too. I think it helps me be flexible in social situations, and I know that people are different in many ways but also the same in many ways. So here it simply refers to having found what true sense of self. Okay, next slide, please. So for the next, I think cultural socialization. So socialization refers to the process in which individuals learn and internalize the cultural values, belief, norms, and practices of their particular cultural or ethnic groups. So it involves so this involves parental practices that teach children about their racial or ethnic heritage and promote cultural practices and cultural pride. So it involves the transmission of cultural knowledge, tradition, and behavior from one generation to the next. So adolescents who have experienced socialization tend to have stronger and more positive ethnic identity than those who have not. So cultural socialization occurs through various socialization agents, including our family, community, educational institutions, and even media. So, to note here that in some cases, cultural socialization is not positive in nature. So, I think that would be all for the first topic, which is identity, which is which is the search for identity.
So next, so for the second topic in this chapter, we will discuss how adolescents come to terms with their sexuality, and also we will find out about the sexual orientation and identity of an individual, at aalamin natin ang iba't ibang mga sexual identity, kung ano ba ang pagkakaiba-iba nito at paano ba ito nagsisimula at nade-develop sa isang individual. So, for the second, no, we have the sexual behavior ng adolescent. At malalaman rin natin dito sa topic na ito kung ano ba ang magiging sanhi kapag tayo ay hindi tayo maalam sa safe sex, at ano ba yung mga several risk na makukuha natin dito, like sa mga sakit. And also, we will ano din we will tackle naman about sa kalagayan ng mga teenage pregnancy, at ano ba yung mga outcomes kapag ikaw ay naging ay may yung sa kalagayan ng teenage pregnancy. And also, we will discuss about why we need to implement, at napaka-importante na why is it important ang sex education. So, for sexuality, um, sexuality, it is the one of seeing oneself as a sexual being, and also recognizing oneself sexual orientation and forming romantic or sexual attachment. All are parts of achieving mga sexual identity. So, ang pagiging aware of sexuality sa ating sexuality, it is really crucial or a napaka-importante na aspect to identify our identity formation. So, next bullet, please. So, um, Sa kalagayan ngayon, no, yung casual sex ng adolescents is really common because of the easy access of the internet. Sa through online chat no rooms and also sa mga single meeting ng mga sites like sa Umigel diyan talaga yung madali nakaka-hook up, mabilis na makaka-hook up yung um, mga teenage mga teens ngayon, no? And all of this, nag-i-increase ito na possibility ng sexual risk taking. So, sexual orientation. Focus of consistent sexual romantic. It is the focus of consistent sexual romantic and affectionate interest, either heterosexual, homosexual, or bisexual. So it is in adolescence that a person's sexual orientation generally becomes more clearly whether that person will consistently be sexually attracted to a person of other sex. Ang mga example nito, ito yung mga heterosexual, homosexual, and bisexual. And as with the important area of development, uh, um, yung homosexual, nagadepende ito sa, nagre-rate sila, parang depende sa measure, either ba ito ay sexual or romantic attraction or arousal or bisexual behavior. So, heterosexual, ito yung mga person na naa-attract um, through other sex, and sa homosexual naman, ito yung naa-attract sila sa same sex. And also sa bisexual, ito yung naa-attract sila both sexes. So, next bullet please. Please. So, social stigma may bias such self-report underestimating the prevalence of homosexuality and bisexuality. Although there is increasing acceptance in the United States of African American, Hispanic, and other and older adults are more likely to hold negative views of homosexuality. So, 'di ba sa dati ay baskin subong kay yung mga older na mga parents though against gid sila sa mga bata nila nga maging homo no. Pero hindi wala ginatanan pero kadalasan kay kung ang homo kung ang bata nila hindi straight, there is a possibility na nga ibuli ang ilang mga bata. So nahadlok sila nga amo ni ang maging matabo sa ilang nga bata no. So that's why amo na they are more likely na both ay negative ang view nila about sa homosexuality, and also sa kung sa religion naman, they are against food sila sa homosexuality. So ang matabo sini daw maano na daw madulaan na sang pag-asa ang bata because kung kisa gani daw ginatago na lang nila para daw kumbaga daw hindi na para ay like daw kumbaga daw hindi na parang daw kumbaga para hindi na kay again sa mga parents nila sa amo sini nga bagay no. So for the so most people experience their first crushes about according to Herd and McClintock no. Most people now experience their first crush at about 10 years of age, and a process that appears to be related to the maturation of the adrenal glands for those who will later identity as homosexual. This first crush is often on a member of the same sex. So next bullet please. um, Origins of sexual orientation. Sexual orientation seems to be at least partly genetic. So, the origin of sexual orientation is napaka-complex, no? And not fully understood pa. It is likely involved sa combination of genetics, sa mga hormonal, and sa environmental factors. So according nga sa research, no, the research suggests that both nature and nurture plays roles in shaping one's sexual orientation, but there is no single determinant. Next slide, please. So, much research on sexual orientation has focused on effort to explain homosexuality, although once considered as a mental illness, and several decades of research have found no association between the homosexual orientation and emotional or social problems, apart from those apparently caused by societal treatment of homosexuals. So, according nga sa Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder, no, sa fourth edition ito, or the DSM-4, it is published in 1994. Ang pagiging homosexuality daw, it is listed as a mental disorder and its earlier version. However, in 1973 naman, according sa American Psychiatric Association or the APA, the homosexuality is disclassified as a mental disorder with with the release of the DSM-3. So, the decision was based on evolving scientific understanding and a growing consensus that homosexuality rather than pathology. So, the recognition was a historical misconception. So, twin studies have led to similar conclusion about genetic influences. Researchers have found the concordance rates of monozygotic identical twins. It is always higher than that of the dizygotic fraternal twins. However, despite sa having of the exact same copy of genes, identical twins are not perfectly concordant for sexual orientation. According ito kay Nguyen and Villain 2014. So, according to kay Bogart naman, 2006, each older biological brother increases the chances of homosexuality in a younger brother by 33%. So, um, dito no, according dito no, most na, most, mga ano daw, ang mga arang panganay they increase daw na chances na magiging isang homosexuality, no, like hindi siya straight, and pero 33% lang naman. So next bullet please. So homosexual, bisexual, and transgender identity development. Next bullet please. So most gay, lesbian, and bisexual youth begin to identify as such between the ages of 12 to and 17 years old. So sa amo ni nga edad no, um we are in high school era. So um do kumbaga do naga sa amo ni abi nga ano nga edad, we are ano parang do kumbaga confused pa ta sa aton nga mga identity, hindi pa tas ay kumbaga do ma apektuhan pud ta or anhan pud ta sa ano sa aton mga environment through sa aton nga mga friends also, kay dara na most of the time na makilala naton ang identity naton sa as a sexual. So let's continue now. Gay and lesbian youth who experience rejection and low support for the sexual orientation from their parents after coming out are more likely to have difficulty accepting their sexual identity, no? No, according nga sa book, no, youth who do not successfully integrate their sexual identity in their self-concept are the one at the risk that for issue with anxiety, depression, or conduct problems. So kagaya nga dito, ang mga risk factor ng um kung hindi come up ang isang bata na about sa iyang nga gender or kay nahuya siya kay ang iyang um um kay hindi siya straight. So ang mga risk factor, ang mga potential na risk factor nito, no, ay ang number one talaga is yung ang parental rejection. And also ang bullying rin, isa rin po ito sa risk factor, um nga kay hindi nila kay kumbaga mahadlok na sila mag-step up step out sa environment nila, no, kay mabully sila kag pagkatapos wala na sila sang courage to um um to face the world. So, transgender um, is a term that refers to individual whose biological sex at birth and gender identity are not the same. So those people who seek medical assistance to permanently transition to their preferred gender are generally referred to transsexual, and still other use terms as genderqueer to refer to a wide range of variable identities that may neither fully male or nor um nor a female. Um ang example kay si Charisse, at isa ni siya ka ay singer, kag tapos nag-transgender siya. So common sa mga transgender, no, evaluated sa mga risk of sexual victimization and mga substance abuse na may na um ano pud sila arang leads ang depression and anxiety nga um so let's continue now. According to Bregman Malik, Page, and Macumen and Linda in 2013, gay and lesbian youth who experience rejection and low support for the sexual orientation from their parents after coming out, they are more likely to have difficulty accepting their sexual identity. No, according nga dito sa book, no, youth who do not successfully integrate their sexual identity in their self-concept are more likely the one the risk of for issues with anxiety, depression or conduct problems. So ganun nga no, yung parents na kung hindi ta mag-come up kung sa ano kay do kumbaga arang do hindi ta sang ano ba arang happy sa aton life kay ang aton nga gusto hindi naton gusto mapagawas because there is boundary kag there is arang tawag sina um stigma na kapag ikaw ay homosexual ay ang tawag sina do ginapandirian ka kag pagkatapos most nga mga youth nga maka nga belong sa LGBTQ plus they are more like ginabully and ang mga and also mga parents din it is isa po ito sa risk maging potential na risk factor kay gina-reject sila kag pagkatapos ang mental health sang isa ka bata naga um, um, negative ang feedback. So, common ito sa mga transgender and evaluated sa mga sexual no sa sexual victimization and substance abuse na may lead sa depression and anxiety at takot na mag-take out or mag-step outside sa world no. So, transgender it is a term that refers to individual whose biological sex at birth and gender identity are not the same. Those people who seek medical assistance to permanently transition to their preferred gender are generally referred to transsexual, and still other use term as genderqueer to refer a wide range variables identity that may neither fully male nor female. Transgender individuals have gender identity, no, that differs from their sex assigned to them at birth. This identity may be ano ba, lalaki ba or female or non-binary. So the experience of transgender involves aligning one's gender expression with their gender identity. It is essential to respect no and also and affirm individuals' gender identities and also use the inclusive language to support transgender rights and um, um, well-being. So, this ano no there is ano tawag sina um issue about sa ano no sa um um ano ba at tawag sina um uh um um nga issue sa public places no nga ang LGBTQ plus to have their own comfort rooms in public places. So isa ito nga isa ni ka issue nga subong kag tapos ang ginapa-implement sang gobyerno kay some of transgender ay common no nga sila ay ma-abuse because of um because of because of that no sa because of their so next na. So sexual behavior. According to national surveys, 39.5% of high school students have had sexual intercourse and 65% of young people have sex by the age of 18. So, it is a wide range of activities. Ito po ay related sa human sexuality includes pero hindi ni siya limited nga activities such as sexual intercourse, kissing, touching, masturbation, and various forms of intimate reactions. According nga sa research, no, the expression of sexual behavior is influenced by a combination of biological, physiological, and sociocultural functions. Next po. So, sexual risk-taking. Two major concerns about adolescent sexual activity are the risk of contracting sexually transmitted infection or the STIs and for heterosexual activity of pregnancy. Most at risk are young people who start
sexual activity early, have multiple partner, do not use contraceptives regularly, and have inadequate information or misinformation about sex. So, napaka-importante talaga na na ma-educate tayo sa sex education, no? Dahil marami talagang risk factor kapag hindi tayo maalam sa ganitong mga bagay, which is dapat nating um 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 tawag sina we need to dapat kailangan tagid nga maintindihan ang mga bagay nga ni bago ta magsulod sa mga amo ni nga situation, no, kay because may mga risk factor na makukuha natin like mga STI na mga sakit na malala. Though adolescents in the United States and Europe have similarly levels of sexual activity, but the United States has far higher levels of teen pregnancy. The reason US teens are less likely to use birth control. Next, please. Next slide, please. So young people often feel under pressure to engage in activities they do not feel ready for. Teens are more likely to have sex and take the risk while having sex if they believe their peers are also having and approve of sex are pressuring them to have sex. So most common, no, ngayon sa mga kabataan na sa katulad sa mga peers natin. So dapat um, sa mga dahil ay do kumbaga may ara na sang stereotype nga ginatawag nga kung virgin ka pa virgin ka pa sa edad mo nga like 18 do kumbaga arang ano ba arang tawag sina arang um ano ka daw arang tawag sina banal pa. So kailangan mo daw dapat na kailangan may mga friends ta akong kisa nga gina gina-push kita nga dapat maka mabunyagan ta sa amo ning edad, no. So maga muna. So the best safeguard for sexually active teens is regular use of condoms, which gives some protection against STI well as against pregnancy. Slightly over 80% of teenage girls and most 80% of teenage boys who are having sex for the first time use a condom. So um uh, uh, recently sa gihamba ko kagay na no which is napaka-importante talaga na mag-use tayo ng condom kung first time pa lang mag-undergo sa sexual intercourse. Using condom kasi to prevent risk factors when it comes to sex kay basi may makuha ta nga mga sakit nga malubha like mga STI, HIV, and many more. So sexually transmitted infection are disease spread by sexual contact. Next slide, please. So most common curable STI first, we have the chlamydia and gonorrhea. So, ang chlamydia kasi it can be treated taking some antibiotic. So, um, common STD that can cause infection among the both and men and women. It can cause permanent damage to women's and reproductive system. This can be made it difficult and impossible to get pregnant later. No, so chlamydia is one of can also potentially fatal ectopic pregnancy or that occurs outside the womb of women. So genital herpes simplex is a chronic, recurring, often painful and highly contagious disease. It can be fatal person with a deficiency of the immune system or to the newborn infant of a mother who has outbreak at the time of delivery. So sexually transmitted infection are disease spread by sexual contact. So trichomoniasis is a parasitic infection that it is commonly transmitted during the sexual activity but may be passed along by moist towels and swimsuit. Human immunodeficiency or the HIV, which causes acquired deficiency syndrome AIDS, is transmitted through bodily fluids, usually by sharing intravenous drugs, needles, or by sexual contact with infected partner. Next slide, please. So teenage pregnancy and childbearing. Estimates, according to World Health Organization 2018, no, estimates are that 21 teenage girls in developing regions of the world become pregnant each year, as do additional 2 million girls under the age of 15 years. Moreover, an approximate 3.9 million girls aged 15 to 19 years receive an unsafe abortion. So outcomes of pregnancy. So teenage pregnancies have often poor outcomes. Many of the mothers are impoverished and poorly educated, and some are the drug user may do not eat properly, do not gain enough weight, and get inadequate prenatal care or none at all. Their babies are likely to be premature, dangerously small, and are heightened risk of other birth complication. Teenage pregnancy can have various outcomes impacting both sa mga parents and their children. Outcomes may include dito yung mga health risk. So sa mga teen mothers may face increased health risk during sa pregnancy and childbirth due to their bodies still developing, and the babies born to teenage mother may also be at higher risk for certain health complications. Sa mga educational challenges naman, yung mga teenage mothers or mga teenage pregnancy can disrupt education, potentially leading to lower educational attainment, no, for sa both and mother and father, and balancing mga parenting responsibilities with school can be demanding. Sa, ano po, sa mga financial strain naman po din, sa teen parents often face financial challenges as they may not be financially stable or have established career. This can be affects sa overall sa mga well-being sa family. Napaka-importante talaga to note that outcomes can vary widely, and with adequate support system, education, and access to resources, sa mga teenage parents successfully navigate these challenges, comprehensive sex education talaga is napaka-importante, and support services can play na crucial role in preventing some teenage pregnancies para to mitigate some potential negative outcomes. So next slide, please. So according to Kowal and Pike 2004, now adolescents who can talk sex with older siblings as well with parents are more likely to have positive attitudes toward safer sexual practices. No. Kaya nga dapat na we have to anong tawag sina um l- uh, implement some sexual education, no, para aware ta um sa mga himuon ta. So many teenagers get much of their sex education from the media, which present a distorted view of sexual activity associating with fun, excitement, competition, or violence, rarely showing the risk of unprotected sex. So surprisingly, teens report more exposure to sexual media from television, media, and music they do not than they do not from the internet. That's all.
So dadako tayo sa third topic for this chapter, which is the relationships with family, peers, and adult society. So in this topic, we will understand how we connect with family, friends, and the broader adult world, which is very crucial sa atin pong well-being. So in this topic, titingnan natin yung dynamics of relationship during adolescence, from the influence of siblings and parents to the impact of friendships and interactions with the adult society. So we will explore kung paano nga ba na nakakaapekto itong mga relationship na ito, kung ano ang connection nito in shaping our experiences and behaviors during adolescence. So the myth of adolescent behavior. So Adolescent behavior, it is a pattern of emotional turmoil characteristic of a minority of adolescents that may involve conflict with family, alienation from adult society, reckless behavior, and rejection of adult values. So dito po, the concept of adolescent rebellion is a long-standing stereotype. It is portrayed sa ating culture and sa ating media na pag teenager, they are rebellious, ganyan-ganyan. However, research and psychological studies suggest that this stereotype is not universally applicable and that teenage rebellion may be linked to specific factors within the individual's environment, particularly sa atin pong pamilya. So, sabi po dito, family conflict, depression, and risky behavior are more common than during other parts of the lifespan. So, hindi lang po pala, tawag dyan, nakaka-apekto po pala yung parenting style, yung family dynamics ng bawat isa sa atin. For example, if parents are not supportive or neglectful sa kanilang mga anak, it can make teenagers more likely to rebel. So imagine natin, we are feeling unloved, we are misunderstood, always misunderstood sa ating bahay. So that might make someone to act out and be rebellious. And also, if there are a lot of arguments sa ating tahanan, especially about things like rules and independence, of course, a teenager might rebel to show na gusto nilang magkaroon ng control over their own life. And another thing, sabi dito is, risky behavior. So some rebellious behavior involves doing risky things, like they are experimenting with drugs, they are trying drugs, and doing dangerous activity. So this can be a way for teenagers to express themselves or deal with their emotions. Again, the idea of teenage rebellion is not a one size fits all concept. It is not something na every teenager goes through, but instead it often happens when there are problems sa atin pong tahanan. So it is not just about being a teenager, it is often what's going on sa ating mga buhay, especially sa atin pong tahanan. So adolescent and parents, individuation, and family conflict. So individuation, adolescents struggle for autonomy and personal identity. So ito pong individuation na tinatawag, it refers to the psychological process through which individuals develop distinct sense of self. They are separating themselves from their family and societal influence. And this individuation, according dito, it is a lifelong process. Pag sinabing lifelong, ibig sabihin it does not happen sa during adolescent years lamang, during adulthood lamang, but all throughout our life. So individuation is a lifelong process, but it is often nag-intensify during adolescent. It becomes more intense during adolescence. So this phase, it involves teenagers' efforts to gain independence, form their own identity, and stand out as their own unique individual. And sabi po dito, positive relationships with parents can support successful individuation. So of course, having positive relationship, especially sa atin po mga parents, is very important because it helps in the successful process of this individuation. And sabi din dito, balancing autonomy and parental involvement is crucial with age-appropriate adjustment. So finding the right balance between independence and parental involvement is crucial. And this balance needs to be adjusted as the teenager grows older. So ibig sabihin, parents need to adjust how much freedom they will give as their teenagers grow older. So too much or too little autonomy can pose risk during different stages of adolescence. So ibig sabihin pala, bawal yung too much and at the same time, bawal rin yung too little. Because giving teenagers too much freedom or being too controlling can be risky dito po sa adolescence. So too much freedom, being too controlling, too little involvement, makakaapekto yun siya sa individuation ng isang adolescent. So for example, bibigyan natin ng too much freedom yung isang bata. For example, isang teenager, I mean. For example, we will allow them, him or her, to unrestricted na access sa social media, sa technology, without any guidance or boundaries kasi nga may freedom sila, which is too much. So it can lead to potential risks such as online bullying, makakakita sila ng mga inappropriate na mga content, ma-expose sila sa mga ganong mga bagay, and at the same time, excessive screen time. So the balanced approach should be kailangan mag-set tayo ng reasonable limits of screen time, discuss online safety so that they will navigate this world responsibly, and at the same time, they will foster a sense of independence. So bawal din yung too controlling. For example, if our parents are always telling a teenager what to do, of course, it can make them feel na hindi sila makagawa ng sarili nilang choices. And anong mangyayari? They might want to do opposite nung mga bagay na sinasabi sa kanila, and at the same time, they will feel unsure about themselves. So sa mga parents, they should give advice and help when needed, but also let the teenager, let their child make some choices. So in this way, they will learn how to make good decision. And at the same time, hindi rin daw pwede na they are not involved or little lang yung involvement nila sa kanilang mga anak. Because if parents do not pay attention sa mga sinasabi, sa mga ginagawa ng isang teenager, it might make them feel na walang nobody cares about them, and it will lead them na makagawa ng mga bad na mga choices. So it is good for a parents to show na they care by talking and by listening and by letting. So cultural differences in family dynamics. So there are also cultural differences na tinatawag na collectivistic and individualistic society. So ano yung kaibahan ng collectivistic society and individualistic society? So pag sa collectivistic, it emphasizes yung importance ng group or community over individual needs. Sa individualistic naman, it emphasizes the importance of the individual and their personal goals and achievement. So dito, yung mga tao dito sa collectivistic countries, they often prioritize harmony, cooperation, and the well-being ng buong grupo. Dito naman sa individualistic society, they tend to value independence, self-expression, and personal success. So in some countries like India, Saudi Arabia, and Algeria, so dito, teenagers are very close sa kanila pong mga magulang. They care a lot about family, and yung main goal nila during adolescence is to be connected and dependent in their family. So building strong emotional bonds with family members is essential. So dito naman sa individualistic Western countries tulad ng France, Poland, and Argentina, so dito, lower connectedness between teens and parents. Ibig sabihin, teenagers might not be as close to their parents. So here, the focus is more on being independent and doing things on their own. And yung main goal nila is to become self-sufficient and less dependent sa kanilang pamilya. And personal goals and achievements are more emphasized than strong family ties. So next, uh, impact of impact of family relations on mental health. So family conflict predicts multiple adjustment problems. Depression, anxiety, conduct problems, and peer-related issues are common outcomes. So family conflict, especially if nagiging harsh or hostile na, it can lead to various problems for individuals, especially adolescents. So, fightings, disagreements, it is common sa mga family. But if it gets worse over time, nagiging worse na, nagiging malala na, it can lead to some bigger issues. And this problems, it includes nagkakaroon ng depression, anxiety, conduct problems, or behavior issues, and at the same time, difficulties with their peers. So in families where conflict is nagiging malala, sabi dito, ang particularly na naaapektuhan is yung mga babae. So adolescent maltreatment are linked to serious consequences. So when adolescents experience maltreatment within their families, it can have severe consequences. So this maltreatment is connected to issues katulad ng involvement sa mga criminal activities, nag-engage sa mga violent na mga behavior, paggamit ng mga drugs and alcohol, and risky, participating in risky na mga sexual behavior, and at the same time, they are having thoughts of suicide. So the quality of family relationships and experiences during adolescence can significantly impact yung well-being ng isang teenager and their behavior in the long run. So impact, healthy family interactions contribute positively. So sabi dito, family conflict decreases over time in warm, supportive families. So if yung isang pamilya, they have positive interaction, of course, it is good for everyone. And yung family daw na warm and supportive, sabi dito, conflicts tend to increase or nababawasan yung away, nababawasan yung disagreements, nababawasan yung mga hindi pagkakaintindihan sa loob ng tahanan. So parents supporting their kids' independence is linked to better emotional control and doing well in school. So feeling connected sa ating mga pamilya in a positive way can help lower the chances of being depressed. And teens who get to make more decisions tend to have higher na self-esteem. And here's something interesting. So how teenagers balance being their own person while staying connected with their family can actually predict how happy they will be when they are older. So, kung ano pala yung tawag dyan, both individuation and family connectedness during adolescence predict well-being in middle age. So if we are connected with our family, it will predict how happy we will be when we get older. So having a supportive and understanding family can make a big difference in how we feel and how things will turn out later in life. So parenting styles and parental authority. Authoritative parents insist on important rules, norms, and values, but are willing to listen, explain, and negotiate. They exercise appropriate control over a child's conduct, but not over the child's feelings, beliefs, and sense of self. So, yung authoritative parents po are those parents who set important rules and values, but at the same time, they are open to listening, explaining, and negotiating with their children. So ito pong mga parents na to, they maintain appropriate na control over their child's behavior, but they allow the child to have their own feelings, beliefs, and sense of self. So this type po ng parenting, it is known as itong behavioral control. It is considered better for healthy psychosocial development than psychological control. Kasi yung psychological control or yung harsh control, it can harm adolescents' psychosocial development and mental health. So it is harmful to the overall development ng isang tao. So when parents use strategies like withdrawing love as a way to control their children, it can lead to resentment and make it harder for the child to manage their emotions. So ano po yung good na parenting? Sabi dito, we should set rules nicely. So a good parent will tell their children rules, but at the same time, they will talk with them bakit importante itong rules na ito, and they will listen to what, kung ano yung iniisip ng kanilang anak. And they will let them decide. Instead of always telling the child what to do, ito yung gawin mo, ito yung gawin mo, a good parent, they will let them make some choices with their guidance, of course. And this will help the child to learn to be responsible. Sabi dito, withdrawal of love as a control strategy is associated with increased resentment and decreased ability to self-regulate negative emotion. So some parents, they only show love sa kanilang anak if they will do exactly what they say. Pag gagawin nila yung gusto nila, pag di naman nila gagawin, parang i-withdraw yung pagmamahal, ganyan-ganyan. So this can make a child feel bad about themselves. So it is not good to be too strict. It is not good to decide everything sa inyong mga anak, but we should let them choose, of course, with our guidance. So parents open to new experiences are more likely to allow teens greater freedom. Parents providing both structure and autonomy help teens develop rules of conduct, psychosocial skills, and good mental health. So according po sa isang research study, yung mga parents daw po na parang open to new things, open to new experiences, sila yung mga parents na they are more likely na bigyan ng greater na freedom yung kanilang mga anak. So when parents provide a balance between setting rules and allowing independence, it helps teenagers develop good behavior, hindi lang good behavior, but good social skills and good na mental well-being. But these problems can arise if yung isang parent, he or she will go too far and try to control things that teenagers think they should decide for themselves. So, sabi din po dito, adolescents' behavior can influence parenting, creating bidirectional effects on family dynamic. So, ibig sabihin po pala, yung behavior ng isang teenager, it can affect kung ano din yung magiging behavior ng kanyang mga magulang. So how teenagers act can influence how their parents or family works together. For example, if yung isang teenager, he or she is showing consistently na respectful siya, he's following family rules, of course, it will encourage her parents to be more open to negotiation and discussion. So magkakaroon ng positive cycle of mutual respect within the family. So if yung teenager naman, he or she is always engaging in rebellious behavior consistently, breaking the rules without regard for consequences, so ano mangyayari? Magiging authoritarian yung isang magulang. They will attempt to regain control, and this can result in negative cycle of conflict and tension within the family. So parental monitoring and adolescent self-disclosure. So part of monitoring involves understanding a teen's activity. So monitoring what teens are up to, it includes understanding, of course, understanding their activities. So as teens become more and more independent, they decide what they want to share with their parents. Nagde-decide na sila, ito lang yung gusto kong sabihin, ito lang yung gusto kong sabihin sa kanila, i-share sa kanila. And parents, yung mga magulang naman, usually, they want to know more about than yung gustong sabihin sa kanila. But as teens get older, sabi dito, this gap decreases with age. When teens share more with their parents, especially in a warm and supportive family, they are less likely to get involved in troublesome behavior. So pag nag-share tayo ng mga bagay-bagay sa ating mga magulang, we are less likely, to get involved sa mga hindi magagandang mga bagay. Sabi din dito, girls tend to confide more in their parents. So usually, yung mga babae, yung mga daughter, they share more with their parents than yung mga lalaki. So dito, types of behavior adolescents are expected to disclose to their parents. So itong prudential issues, high disclosure, it is related to health and safety, kung they are smoking ba, they are drinking ba, or gumagamit pa sila ng mga drugs. And ito namang moral issues, moderate disclosure. So these behaviors involve morality. Yung, for example, yung pagsisinungaling. And conventional issues, moderate disclosure. So ito naman yung mga societal norms, yung mga basta related sa societal norms like bad manners, yung pagmumura, ganyan mga bagay. So ito naman, multi-faceted issues. Borderline disclosure lie at the boundary between personal matters and other categories. So this matter, it sit between personal things and other categories like watching or seeing an R-rated movie, yung panonood ng mga ganung mga bagay. And lowest disclosure, personal aspects like how teens spend their time and their money. So ito yung mga bagay na they may not disclose as much. Dito naman, family structure and atmosphere. So marital distress and conflict. Changes in marital distress or conflict can affect the individuation process of adolescence. So changes in how parents get along can impact how teenagers develop their own identity. For example, if there's a lot of distress, there's a lot of fighting between their parents, it can make it harder for teens to figure out who they are and become their own person. Ano naman yung uh, effect ng divorce? So sabi dito, adolescents with divorced parents may experience more academic, psychological, and behavioral challenges than their peers from intact family. So when parents get divorced, pag nagdi-divorce yung magulang ng isang teenager, it can be tough or mahirap para sa kanila. They might struggle more with school, they might struggle more with their emotions and behavior compared doon sa mga kids, compared doon sa mga teenager whose parents stay together. So families where both parents stay married are linked to fewer behavior problems in teens compared dun sa mga family na naghihiwalay, mga family na single parents, those who live together without being married, and or step families. And another thing, divorce can strain, sabi dito, yung divorce daw, meron daw siyang negative effect sa relationship with the father. So divorce can strain the relationship between teens and their fathers. After ng divorce, teens often feel less close sa kanilang mga papa, which can affect their overall well-being. So sa single-parent families, adolescents, especially boys from single-parent families, are at higher risk for problem behaviors but risks can be mitigated by factors such as parental monitoring and socio-economic indicator. So sa single parent family, during adolescence, especially sa mga lalaki, prone sila sa mga problematic na mga behavior. However, these factors, I mean, factors like how well their parents keep an eye on their activities and yung socio-economic ng isang pamilya can help reduce this risks. So, cohabiting families. Adolescents in cohabiting families may face more behavioral and emotional problems compared to those in married families. Adolescents in cohabiting families show similar outcomes to those in married step-parent families, with family instability playing a role in both cases. So teens in families where parents live together, pag sinabing cohabiting, they are living together but they are not married. So sabi dito, they might face more challenge both in terms ng behavior and emotion compared doon sa mga married na mga pamilya. So how about yung gay or lesbian parents? So adolescents from families headed by yung gay or lesbian parents do not demonstrate significant differences in various outcome. So ibig sabihin pala, adolescents raised by gay or lesbian na mga parents do not show significant na differences in various outcomes compared to those with heterosexual parents. Ibig sabihin, wala palang pinagkaiba. Gay, lesbian man yung parents mo or heterosexual yung parents mo, wala daw siyang pinagkaiba. So this emphasizes that the quality of the relationship between parents and their children is a crucial factor regardless of the parent's sexual orientation. Ibig sabihin pala, yung quality ng relationship between parents is yun ang mahalaga kahit ano pa yung sexual orientation ng iyong mga magulang. The key is the love and support within the family rather than the gender of the parents. Mas mahalaga yung pagmamahal, mas mahalaga yung suporta within the family, yung good relationship within the family, rather than kung ano yung gender ng iyong parents. So, mother's employment and economic stress. So, depends on household structure. Single mothers may face challenges balancing work and parenting. So yung impact naman ng mother's work outside the home, it depends kung ilan yung parents na present sa isang tahanan. But if you are a single mother, you will face challenges. Of course, makaka-face ka ng grabe na challenges in balancing work and parenting. So being a single mom, sabi dito, working at night, may spend less time with teens. So being a single mom with a job can be tough. How much more if you are working at night? Ibig sabihin, yung family time nagiging limited and teenagers might end up doing yung mga risky na mga bagay-bagay. And at the same time, sabi din dito, maternal employment is linked to less healthy nutritional environments at home. So providing healthy meals become harder with a job. So nagiging reason yon na nagkakaroon ng mga weight issue sa isang teenagers. And sabi din dito, unsupervised teens may engage in alcohol, lack of money in single-parent family is a major issue, unstable maternal employment or prolonged unemployment increases dropout rates. So the stress from financial difficulty, of course, can strain family relationship and it will affect yung success ng isang teenager, ng iyong anak in school and work later on. So it is very important na yung mga single parent family is magkaroon sila ng support coming from us or coming from sa mga nakapaligid sila so that it will help them and their kids thrive despite this na challenges. So adolescent sibling relationship. So sabi dito, if we will read this PowerPoint, during adolescence, individuals, they often prioritize peer relationships. So it leads to decrease in sibling closeness as peer influence become more prominent. 'Di ba mas na ano nila yung kanilang mga times, kanilang mga peers, kanilang mga friends. So therefore, nababawasan daw yung closeness, nababawasan yung time na ini-spend nila sa kanilang mga kapatid. However, sibling relationships can become more equal and conflict, yung mga conflict ng mga ganyan-ganyan, it will decrease in middle adolescence. And sabi dito, sisters report more intimacy than brothers or mixed pairs. So, according dun sa ating book, halimbawa, pag sisters kayo, mas close kayo. Pag brothers kayo, mas close kayo. Rather than sister or brother, rather than mix or ganyan. Pag sisters, mas close. Pag brothers, mas close. So, influence of parental relationship. So, sibling intimacy is influenced by parental warmth and acceptance. Parent-child conflict is associated with sibling conflict. So, yung relationship pala ng parents, I mean, yung parental warmth and acceptance, it will contribute to sibling intimacy. And at the same time, yung parent-child conflict naman correlates with conflicts between siblings. So, changes in father's marital happiness impact sibling relationships. So, yung pag nagbabago, pag nakikita ng isang teenager, isang bata na nagbabago, yung pakikitungo ng papa, pakikitungo ng mama sa isa't isa, tawag siya, it can impact yung relationship nyo daw na magkapatid. And sabi din dito, teens perceiving parental favoritism are associated with externalizing and internalizing behavior problems. So, yung teens, if he or she is perceiving na may favoritism sa kanilang bahay, ganyan-ganyan, nagkakaroon din daw ng mga problem. So dito, sibling influence on behavior. Paano nakakaapekto or nakakaapekto ba yung ating mga kapatid in our behavior? So sabi dito, older siblings may influence younger ones negatively with behaviors such as smoking, drinking, or drug use. So older siblings can positively affect yung behavior ng kanyang mga kapatid. But at the same time, sabi din to, it can negatively affect, if negative din, yung ginagawa ng nakakatanda na kapatid. So older siblings can sometimes have a negative influence on younger ones pag nag-engage sila sa mga behaviors na tulad na sinabi ko, smoking, drinking, or drug use. And antisocial behavior in older siblings can increase the risk of similar behavior in younger sibling. So itong antisocial behavior, tatakal ito later na next reporter. So sabi dito, there is a minsan, sometimes, nakakaapekto negatively if negative yung ginagawa natin. So it is very important na if we are the older sibling, maging positive influence tayo sa atin pong mga kapatid. Peer group influence. So peers serve as sources of affection, understanding, and moral guidance during adolescence. So if mapapansin natin during adolescence, friends become crucial for support, for understanding, and for moral guidance. So this peer group, sabi dito, it is a space for experimentation. So ang peer group, it is like a playground for trying out independence. Nagtatry tayo na maging independent. It is also a place to practice forming close relationships, kind of a parang rehearsal for adult intimacy. So peer interactions change as we grow. habang tumatanda tayo, habang lumalaki tayo, peer interactions grow. So in childhood, it is mostly, sabi dito, dyadic, progressing to larger groups in middle childhood. So in childhood, it is mostly one-on-one. But in middle childhood, it shifts na magiging larger na yung ating mga grupo. And sa adolescence naman, adolescence is the emergence of cliques or structured friend groups and crowds based on reputation or identity. So in adolescence naman, friend groups become more structured. Nagpo-form na ng ito tinatawag na cliques. And there are also crowd based on reputation or identity. So peer influence is most powerful around ages 12 to 13, but it tends to decrease as adolescence progresses. So friends, they play a very big role in shaping who we are during our teenage years. So peer group influence, risk taking, especially in early adolescence, is higher in the presence of peers. Popular adolescents may engage in mildly antisocial behaviors to demonstrate interdependence from parental rules. So, in early adolescence, yung presence ng peers, it often leads to more risk takings. Sometimes, sabi dito, popular teens might do mildly rebellious things to show na they are independent from parental rules. So attachment to friends during early adolescence usually involve testing out independence. It is generally not a problem unless it gets so strong na it will mess or sisirain niya yung mga rules, na makakaapekto na i-break natin yung mga rules, makakaapekto na hindi na tayo uh, aayusin yung atin mga academic responsibility. So sa friendships become more reciprocal, equal, and stable during adolescence. So as we grow, yung friendship, nagiging balance siya, nagiging stable siya. Better friendship last while Better friendship lasts while less satisfying ones become less important or end. So, sabi dito, adolescents rely more on friends than parents for intimacy and support. So, teens often turn to friends more than parents, kung mapapansin natin, for closeness and support. So, during adolescence, friends become super, super important as we navigate through life. So social media and electronic interaction. So pag titingnan natin dito, almost all teens, over 99% according to this, use the internet. So 99%, ibig sabihin, almost all ng mga kabataan, they are using the internet. However, active social media users, especially yung mga less na mga about their privacy, yung hindi sila masyadong sa kanilang mga privacy, they are more vulnerable to online harassment and cyberbullying. So excessive use of screen-based media is associated with poorer physical health, lower quality of life, and strained family relationship. So nakakaapekto po talaga yung paggamit ng mga internet ng ating mga cellphone, especially if hindi natin aayusin yung paggamit nito. So the specific type of media matters. For example, for instance, yung instant messaging, messenger, message, and yung ganyan, and video games, they are linked to depression, while excessive television is associated with obesity and socio-emotional problems. So, nakadepende din pala kung saan yung ginagamit natin ng media, yung effect nito sa bawat isa sa atin. Pag video games, instant messaging, they are linked to depression. Pag yung television naman, yung grabe-grabe na panonood, it is associated with obesity or social emotional na mga problems. So, some people, they develop problematic internet usage. Similar to addiction, it impacts their function, yung relationship nila, and well-being. And sabi din dito, men, yung mga lalaki daw po, due to their greater interest sa gaming, sila yung higher na naaapektuhan nito. So again, while the internet offers many benefits, it is essential na maging mindful tayo sa potential na negative impacts nito sa ating health and sa ating well-being. So, itong online communication, ano yung positive aspects of online communication? Yes, nakokonect tayo sa mga tao sa paligid natin, instant messaging na meron siyang positive na impact sa mga relationship kasi madali na lang makausap, even though nasa malayong lugar pa yan, madaling makausap. But sabi din dito, there is a dark side dito sa online communication. So anonymity in online communication can lead to electronic bullying. So anonymity, it means keeping the identity secret, which is very common sa internet, very common sa social media na hindi natin nakukuha yung tunay nilang pangalan, yung kanilang personal info. So nagle-lead ito sa electronic bullying or yung sinasabi na cyber bullying. So without proper parental monitoring, the lack of this knowledge about this, it increases the risk of cyber bullying. So again, while the internet offers social benefit, dapat maging aware din tayo sa mga negative consequences, lalong-lalo na related dito sa tinatawag na hindi natin kilala kung sino yung kinakausap natin, and the absence of supervision. So, romantic relationships. Dating violence, 3 common forms: physical, emotional, and sexual. Approximately 10% of students have been victims of teen dating violence, with rates likely underreported. So, itong dating violence, it takes 3 forms. Yung physical violence, of course, physically, it involves the use of force, physical harm, such as hitting, slapping, yung sampal, or pushing, mga ganyan-ganyan mga bagay. Yung ano naman, emotional naman, hindi siya physical. Non-physical action siya, like verbal abuse, controlling behavior, threats, or mga criticism, constant na criticism, or yung sinasabi na gaslighting, if I'm correct. So it aims to harm the emotional well-being of the partner. So kasali pa yan, pala yan siya sa dating violence. And ito namang sexual violence, it involves any non-consensual sexual activity. Lahat ng without the non-consensual sexual activity. Yung gina-force natin yung partner to engage in sexual acts against their will, or when they are unable to give. Ito pala, informed consent, yung walang informed consent. So it is a form of dating violence then. So tatlo sila: physical, emotional, and sexual. So sabi dito, around 10% of students is nakaranas na nito. But marami pa siguro na hindi na-report. And sabi din dito, when considering only students dating the previous year, almost 21% of girls and 10.4% of boys report experiencing some form of teen dating violence. So hindi lang po ito sa mga babae nangyayari, which is common na narinig natin, pero nangyayari din po itong mga dating violence na ito sa mga lalaki. So ano yung consequences na dala itong dating violence na ito? So victims of dating violence are more likely to perform poorly in school and engage in risky behavior. So yung consequences niya po, it is very serious. Victims are more likely na mag-struggle sa school, ma-involves mga risky na mga behavior, and meron din pong mga increased risk ng substance abuse, eating disorder, depression, and even thoughts of suicide and suicide mismo. So girls are disproportionately victims of severe violence. So dito po, in cases of serious na mga dating violence, it is more common for girls to be the one na sila yung nagsasuffer a lot. This mean na they might experience more severe harm, like physical, hindi man physical, emotional, compared to boys in similar situation. So it is a very unfortunate part of teen dating violence na yung girls, they often face more intense na difficulties. Okay, so dito po, risk factors. Predictors of violence include substance abuse, home conflict abuse, and residence in high crime neighborhoods. So dito po, yung mga nakaka-apekto daw ang reason kung bakit nangyayari ito, mga dating violence na ito is yung paggamit ng mga drugs, paggamit ng alcohol, yung problems or violence sa ating bahay, or we are living in areas kung saan there are lots of crimes and acceptance of violence. We are thinking na violence is okay and not getting along well with our family, struggling with mental health issues, or being influenced by violent content na nakikita natin sa mga media. So yung pinapanood natin, yung mga nakikita natin sa media, it can greatly affect each one of us. So it is very important na if maaari, is yung panonood natin is yung mga bagay na makapagpapabigay ng positive na knowledge, positive na bagay sa bawat isa sa atin. And peers, they play a crucial role with peer behaviors and victimization significantly related to dating violence, perpetration, and victimization. So peers, if our friends are involved in violence or have been victims, it makes dating violence more likely. And sabi din po dito, yung impact ng dating violence is long-term. So, ibig sabihin, it will last into adulthood. So, if someone experiences dating violence as a teen, they are more likely to have similar problems in their adult relationships. So, yung pattern na unhealthy during adolescence can continue into later life. So when teenagers experience dating violence, it often has a long-lasting effects talaga. So para ba siyang prediction na if someone goes through this as a teen, they are more, hindi man lahat, but they are more likely to have similar problems in their adult relationships. So this suggests na what happens in our teenage years can have a big impact on how people relate to others in life. So it is very important na positive yung mga bagay, positive yung interaction, positive yung mga relationship natin during our teenage years because it will significantly impact not all, hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon, but more likely na magkaroon siya ng effect during sa pagtanda po natin. So, ito lamang po yung topic 3, relationships with family, peers, and adult society.
Ay, hindi na-record?
Alas
Ate?
po, iti malapit ka pa lang. Sorry, Geared.
Sige, sige.
Thank you.
So I will discuss now. Ma-start na?
Oo.
So I will discuss now the antisocial behavior and juvenile delinquency. Next slide, please. So first is the biological influences. So antisocial behavior tends to run in families. Neurobiological deficits, particularly in the portions of the brain that regulate reactions to stress. So may help explain why some children become antisocial adolescents. As a result of these neurological deficits, children may not receive or heed normal warning signals to restrain impulsive or reckless behavior. So for example, they tend to have abnormal or blunted responses to events that generally evoke fear in others. Next slide, please. So a crucial variable appears to be the age at which antisocial behavior begins. So researchers have identified two types of antisocial behavior. First is the early onset type, beginning by age of 11, so which tends to lead to chronic juvenile delinquency in adolescence, and a milder late onset type beginning after the puberty, so which tends to arise temporarily in adolescence. So the late onset adolescents tend to commit relatively minor offenses and tend to come from families with standard family backgrounds. So evidence suggests that early onset offenders are likely different from very early on and seem to be more strongly influenced by biological factors. For example, such adolescents show impulse control, are aggressive, and tend not to think about their future. So next slide, please. Environmental influences. Antisocial adolescents tend to have antisocial friends, and their antisocial behavior increases when they associate with each other. So the way antisocial teenagers talk, laugh, or smirk about rule breaking and not knowingly among themselves seem to constitute a sort of deviancy training. So not all children respond in the same way. However, teens who are genetically predisposed to antisocial behavior respond more strongly to maladaptive peer group norms than other children. So these adolescents then continue to elicit ineffective parenting, which then predicts delinquent behavior and association with deviant peer groups. So notably, peer influences can also be positive. For example, exposure to altruistic peers can buffer adolescents against the negative effects of violent or dangerous neighborhoods. Next slide, please. So weak neighborhood social organization in a disadvantaged community can influence delinquency through its effects on parenting behavior and peer deviance, as well as on the norms about the antisocial or violent acts. For example, exposure to community violence and living in a dangerous community are strong predictors of future antisocial behavior. By contrast, collective efficacy or the strength of social connections within a neighborhood and the extent to which residents monitor or supervise each other's children can positively influence outcomes. Next slide, please. So the long-term prospects is the vast majority of young people who engage in juvenile delinquency do not become adult criminals. So delinquency peaks about the age of 15 and then declines. However, teenagers who do not see positive alternatives or who come from dysfunctional families are more likely to adopt a permanently antisocial lifestyle. Those those most likely to persist in violence are those who had early antisocial influences. For example, teens who show antisocial behavior before the age of 15 are at higher risk of death, substance abuse, self-inflicted harm, crime, and poverty. Next slide, please. So, psychosocial development in adolescence plays a crucial role in shaping both antisocial behavior and juvenile delinquency. So this period of development, spanning roughly from the age of 12 to 18, involves the interplay of biological, psychological, and social factors. So under the antisocial behavior, there is an identity formation. So adolescents are developing their identities. So which includes a sense of self, values, and beliefs. Those who are suffering with identity development may be more prone to participating in antisocial activity as a means of establishing a sense of self. So for example, is Maya, a 16-year-old high school student, grew up in a culturally diverse community where her parents held strong traditional values. She faced internal conflict as she grappled with her cultural background and her desire for independence. Maya's social identity was shaped by her peers from different backgrounds, and she experimented with different social groups to find a sense of belonging. So she also began questioning traditional values and performing personal values. So Maya's passion and career aspirations were discovered through exploring extracurricular activities and academic subjects. She experimented with personal style and expression, expressing herself authentically. She began making more independent decisions and asserting independence. So the second one is the peer influence. Adolescents frequently want approval and validation from their peers. So if an adolescent's peer group encourages or engage in antisocial behavior, he or she is more inclined to adopt a similar activities in order to obtain acceptability or to fit in the group. So for example is Alex, a 15-year-old high school student, joined a group of adventurous peers known for a risky behavior. So he felt the need for acceptance and began adopting behaviors like skipping classes and experimenting with substances. So this led to a shift in values, shifting priorities from academic achievements to immediate gratification. So Alex's values were reevaluated and he sought approval and validation from the group. So the fear of rejection led to a decline in academic performance. This led to conflicts with family and internal struggles. So over time, Alex recognized the negative consequences of his actions and sought support from a trusted teacher and school counselor. He eventually distanced himself from the peer group. So this example illustrates how peer influence can shape behavior and values during adolescence. So the third one is the autonomy and rebellion. Adolescents may rebel against authoritative authorities such as parents and instructors as they strive for autonomy and independence. So this revolt can take the form of antisocial behavior such as rule defiance and disobedience. So for this example, Jake, a 16-year-old responsible teenager, experienced a strong desire for independence and autonomy. As he entered adolescence, he felt frustrated with excessive parental control and grew frustrated with his own style and interest. He challenged authority by questioning the rule and asserting opinions. Jake found validation in new friends and peers, and rebelled against expectations by making academic choices and participating in social activities. This led to conflicts with his parents, but eventually they found compromises. Jake eventually learned to balance autonomy with responsibility. So recognizing the expectations of independence despite the challenges, his journey towards autonomy contributed to his personal growth and self-discovery. So the fourth one is emotional regulation. So adolescents are still learning how to regulate their emotions. So those who struggle with emotion management may be prone to impulsive and aggressive actions linked with antisocial behavior. So the example is Emma, a 17-year-old high school student, faced academic pressure and felt overwhelmed. To manage her emotions, she identified and acknowledged her feelings, used mindfulness techniques, sought support from friends and teachers, and reframed her thoughts as an opportunity for personal growth. And she prioritized tasks, broke them down, and practiced physical exercise to release the tensions. She also prioritized sleep and developed an action plan to address her academic challenges. Emma learned from her experience and built resilience by recognizing the importance of navigating challenges and focusing on the present moment. So this case highlights the importance of emotional regulation and making constructive decisions in adversity. So the fifth one is parental relationship. Positive relationship with parents. It is defined by open communication and support and can operate as antisocial behavior protective factors. So the tense interactions, neglect, or inconsistent punishment, on the other hand, may contribute to the development of antisocial tendencies. Example is the Perez family consisting of Mark and Lisa and the two teenage children, Sarah and James, foster a positive family environment through open communication, support, and nurturing environment. They maintain consistent rules and boundaries, encouraging individual interest and celebrating achievements. The Smith also engage in family activities, fostering individual connections. They encourage open communication and teach conflict resolution skills, focusing on compromise and empathy. They are involved in their children's education, attending parent-teacher conferences, and helping with homework. They adapt to changes and recognize the unique needs of each child. They instill core values like honesty, empathy, and responsibility, and model these values through their own behavior. They encourage independence, gradually allowing their children to take on more responsibilities and make age-appropriate decisions. So this dynamic relationship contributes to their overall well-being and development. The next slide, please. So juvenile delinquency. Under the juvenile delinquency is the risk-taking behavior. So adolescents frequently participate in risk-taking behaviors. So as part of their exploration and experimentation, some may progress to delinquent behavior, especially if the social context encourages or normalizes such behavior. For example, again, is Alex, a 16-year-old high school student, was influenced by peer pressure, leading to risky behavior like drug experimentation and vandalism. This led to a desire for acceptance, which led to substance abuse, thrill-seeking behavior, and conflict with parents. Alex's involvement in risky behavior affected academic performance, truancy, and school disengagement. Legal consequences included an arrest for vandalism, and he faced legal consequences for his actions. The consequences of his behavior increased stress and anxiety, and he continued engaging in risky behavior as a coping mechanism. So Alex was required to participate in juvenile justice programs for rehabilitation rather than punishment. So counseling was provided to address underlying issues contributing to his risk-taking behavior. So this case highlights the importance of effective intervention and rehabilitation in addressing the root causes of juvenile delinquency. So number two is the peer pressure. So peer pressure in adolescent may engage in criminal actions. So it is launched by their peer group in order to acquire approval or escape rejection. So example is Jason, a 16-year-old high school student, found himself in a delinquent peer group after moving to a new neighborhood. He felt pressured to conform to the group's delinquent activities, such as substance abuse and vandalism. Jason peers pressured him to participate, fearing exclusion. So the group action led to us escalating violence, straining relationship, and causing conflicts at home. So Jason was arrested for theft and required to attend counseling and rehabilitation programs despite facing legal consequences. So Jason resisted the group and sought positive mentorship. He worked to rebuild relationship with family and non-delinquent peers, distancing himself from the past negative influences. So this case highlights the potential for self-reflection, rehabilitation, and positive change when individuals recognize the negative impact of their actions. So number three is the school engagement. Positive involvement in education and extracurricular activities. So it can work as delinquency deterrence, just like academic failure, absenteeism, and school disengagement are the risk factors for delinquent conduct involvement. So, for example, Emily, a 15-year-old high school student, experienced academic difficulties and peer influence that led to her involvement in juvenile delinquency. She struggled with self-esteem and self-confidence, leading to truancy and skipping classes. Her lack of positive role models and mentorship further exacerbated her disengagement. So negative peer influence also contributed to her disengagement, leading to conflicts with teachers and escalating hostility. Emily's disengagement also exposed her to delinquent peers, leading to her involvement in vandalism and subsequent arrest. To address her issues, Emily received educational support and counseling. She transitioned to an alternative education program which provided personalized support and fostered positive adult relationship. So this case highlights the importance of interventions that address underlying issues and provide supportive future. So number 5 is family dynamics. A stable home environment and family support contribute to a healthy growth. So family dysfunctions such as abuse, neglect, or inconsistent punishment may raise the chance of adolescent criminality. So for example, Daniel, a 14-year-old, was involved in juvenile delinquency due to complex family dynamics. His parents' frequent arguments, lack of supervision, inconsistent discipline, and rebellion led to his involvement with delinquent peers. Daniel's financial strain and desire for material possessions further fueled his behavior. His lack of emotional support and a sense of belonging led him to seek peer group for validation. His father's substance abuse further exacerbated the family's issues. So Danya's involvement with a delinquent peer group escalated into more serious delinquency. His academic struggles and disengagement from school further exacerbated his behavior. His involvement in theft led to his arrest and involvement in the justice system. Interventions such as family counseling and rehabilitation programs were necessary to break the cycle and foster positive development. So number 5 is substance abuse. So adolescents frequently experiment with drugs and alcohol. So substance misuse is associated to delinquent behavior. So because it impairs judgment and contributes to criminal activity. So example is Mia, a 16-year-old high school student, become involved in juvenile delinquency due to a substance abuse. She faced peer pressure, a desire for acceptance, and a peer group influence. She began experimenting with drugs, which escalated into a regular use. This led to risky behavior like vandalism, shoplifting, and truancy. So Mia's academic performance declined and she became disengaged from school. Family conflicts strained and her behavior changed at home. Legal consequences included her involvement in a shoplifting incident, leading to her arrest and legal process. Mia reached a personal crisis where she acknowledged the problem and sought rehabilitation and treatment. She enrolled in a substance abuse counseling, family therapy, alternative education, vocational training, and a support network. As she recovered, she gradually reintegrated into a positive social circle and rebuilt trust with her family. This case highlights the complex relationship between the substance abuse and a juvenile delinquency, emphasizing the need for effective intervention. So next slide, please. So preventing and treating delinquency. So because juvenile delinquency has roots early in childhood, so should preventive efforts that attack the multiple factors that can lead to delinquency. Adolescents who have taken part in well-designed early childhood intervention programs are less likely to get into trouble than their equally underprivileged peers. So the great majority of adolescents do not get into serious trouble. Those who show disturbed behavior can and should be helped. With love, guidance, and support, adolescents can avoid risk, build on their strength, and explore their possibilities as they approach adult life. So next. The effective interventions at the psychosocial level involve addressing these factors. So number 1 is mentoring and support programs. During this key growth stage, positive adult role models and mentors can provide assistance. So example, again, Jake, a 15-year-old high school student, was diagnosed with academic struggles and behavioral changes. His teachers and school counselors referred him to a mentoring program where a mentor was assigned based on his specific needs. So the mentor established trust and a safe space for Jake to express his concerns. They conducted a psychosocial assessment, set realistic goals, provided academic support, and helped him develop skills like study skills and conflict resolution. The mentor introduced Jake to school clubs and activities, fostering a sense of belonging. They also maintained open communication with Jake's parent, encouraging parental involvement in his development. As Jake progressed, the mentor encouraged him to make independent decisions and take ownership of his goals. So the program successfully transitioned Jake out of the program and he was provided with ongoing support system. This case highlights the effectiveness of a mentoring and a support program in addressing psychosocial challenges. So number two is therapeutic interventions. Adolescents can benefit from counseling and therapy to improve their emotional regulation and coping mechanism. So another example is Emma, a 17-year-old high school student, faced psychosocial challenges including anxiety and depression. Her school counselor and parents referred her to a licensed mental health professional for individual therapy. So the therapist conducted an initial psychosocial assessment, established a therapeutic relationship, and created a safe space for Emma to express her thoughts. Cognitive behavioral therapy techniques were used to identify and challenge negative thought patterns, and Emma learned coping strategies. Mindfulness and relaxation techniques were introduced, and guided exercises were conducted. Family therapy sessions were conducted to improve communication and understanding within the family. Social skill training was implemented to help Emma navigate social situations. So art therapy and creative outlets were used for self-expression. So school-based support was maintained and Emma showed improvement in her emotional well-being, academic performance, and social interactions. She was empowered with ongoing self-care and coping strategies. So the next is community engagement. So participation in beneficial community activities can provide alternatives to delinquent behavior and a sense of belonging. Example is Carlos, a 14-year-old, was diagnosed with social isolation and struggled with limited social connections. His school counselor and teachers identified the need for community engagement to improve his well-being. So they collaborated with local organizations to offer youth programs and engagement activities. Carlos was introduced to sports clubs, art classes, and community service initiatives, which helped him build team connections and foster a sense of belonging. He was also connected to a mentor through a community organization specializing in youth mentorship. Art and culture classes provided him with a creative outlet and boosted his confidence. So community-based therapeutic support was provided through counseling services, which address both Carlos' individual needs and family support. So attending community events and participating in workshops and support groups fostered a sense of community among families facing similar challenges. This approach led to a positive change in Carlos' psychosocial well-being. So the next is educational support. Providing academic resources and support can help to reduce the risk of juvenile delinquency. So for example, Emily, a 15-year-old high school student, is struggling with high levels of anxiety, which is affecting her academic performance and attendance. To address her anxiety, the school has implemented various interventions, including individual counseling, peer support groups, teacher collaboration, parental involvement, and skill building workshops. So the school counselor conduct one-on-one sessions using cognitive behavioral therapy. So relaxation techniques and stress management strategies. So peer support groups foster a supportive environment, while teacher collaboration ensures teachers are aware of Emily's challenges and provide appropriate support. And the parental involvement involves organizing workshop on recognizing and supporting anxiety, and skill building workshops equip Emily with practical skills to manage stress and improve academic performance. So understanding the particular challenges and opportunities of adolescents is vital for establishing focused interventions to prevent and address the antisocial behavior as well as juvenile delinquency during this critical developmental stage. So in conclusion, understanding and managing antisocial behavior and juvenile delinquency within the framework of psychosocial development necessitates a multifaceted strategy that takes into the account of the individual, family, and environmental factors. So early detection and tailored interventions can help to improve outcomes and promote healthy psychosocial development in adolescents. So this is Michael Mabalot, your reporter. Thank you po. Dana po ate.
Yan natin basahin yung ano yun. Ito. So this ends our report regarding chapter 12. So this ends our report regarding chapter 12, psychosocial development in adolescence. So once again, thank you and God bless.